Imagine living forever, watching centuries pass like fleeting moments in time. Would an endless life bring boundless joy or unimaginable loneliness? Fantasy fiction often teases immortality as a coveted gift or terrible curse. But why do humans find eternal life both fascinating and terrifying? Picture a world where death no longer interrupts the stories of our lives. Would we still cherish love if it could last an eternity? Could we endure witnessing everyone we love slowly fade away? Immortality forces us to question what truly gives life meaning. In countless novels, immortals carry wisdom, pain, and endless curiosity. Characters like elves or vampires often live beyond mortal comprehension, yet their stories reveal something unsettling beneath eternal youth. Time becomes their companion and their relentless, silent enemy. They experience triumphs that last forever, yet also infinite regrets. Fantasy worlds allow authors to explore these profound questions safely. We see immortality not only as physical endurance, but emotional weight. Every century brings both marvels and tragedies beyond imagination. The allure is undeniable: endless exploration, learning, and adventure. But what price do characters pay for never truly dying? Longevity in fiction often comes with isolation and existential dread. Authors use immortality to examine human desires and fears vividly. Could we bear the memory of centuries without anyone to share it? Immortality magnifies every emotion, joy, sorrow, and fleeting passion. In fantasy, it often blurs the line between blessing and curse. A single immortal can witness empires rise and fall endlessly. Their perspective stretches beyond human comprehension, yet feels eerily real. Think about how our society views death as a natural conclusion. Immortals challenge that concept, offering endless questions without answers. They remind us mortality gives life urgency, flavor, and significance. Without death, would we even appreciate love, loss, or growth? Immortality in fiction often becomes a lens for exploring morality. Characters must decide if their endless existence justifies limitless actions. Fantasy writers delight in showing how eternal life tests human nature. They ask, what is a life worth if it never truly ends? We often assume immortality equals happiness, but fiction reveals otherwise. Eternal life can bring mastery in arts, magic, or warfare. Yet mastery comes at the cost of unending memory and solitude. Even powerful beings in these tales are haunted by ceaseless time. Every joy may fade when repeated endlessly over centuries. Every sorrow may grow heavier, layered like an unshakable shadow. Immortality creates tension between freedom and responsibility in these stories. Some characters embrace eternity, finding meaning in endless discovery. Others regret every choice, weighed down by infinite consequences. Fantasy allows readers to live these eternal experiences safely through imagination. We explore what life could feel like beyond human limits. This exploration often reflects our deepest desires to leave a lasting mark. Immortal struggles mirror the human fear of being forgotten entirely. We see our mortality reflected in their eternal perspective poignantly. Stories show how immortality shapes identity across centuries, even millennia. They examine whether memory and self can survive endless passage. Can love endure when partners age and die while we remain unchanged? Can friendship survive centuries of evolving worlds and societies? Immortality highlights the impermanence of the ordinary world. Fantasy fiction transforms time into a tangible force characters must confront. Each choice echoes louder because consequences may last forever. Some immortals become historians of life itself, observing endlessly. Others become tyrants, corrupted by unchecked time and power accumulation. Their stories warn that eternal life without purpose can become a prison. Fantasy uses immortality to test morality, resilience, and human connection. Immortals' dilemmas often mirror the universal quest for significance. They challenge us to rethink how we value each fleeting moment. In a sense, immortality becomes a metaphor for ambition and obsession. It reveals what humans fear most: stagnation, isolation, and invisibility. Yet it also offers hope, endless opportunity for growth, learning, creation. Through fiction, we explore extremes of experience, possibility, and consequence. Immortality allows authors to magnify emotions, choices, and existential reflection. Readers experience what it feels like to live beyond human understanding. Each story presents unique answers to eternal life's enticing questions. Some endings celebrate eternity, others lament it as a trap. This duality keeps immortality a compelling and controversial theme. By exploring immortality, fiction teaches us about our finite lives. We empathize with those who live beyond time, but feel deeply human. Immortality stories. Imagine an immortal walking through cities that rise and crumble before your eyes. Every street, every building tells a story spanning countless generations. In fantasy novels, immortals often witness the passage of civilizations. They see kings fall, empires collapse, and new worlds emerge. Time for them is a river, flowing without end or pause. Consider the elves in classic fantasy, graceful, yet eternally burdened. They possess wisdom far beyond mortal comprehension, yet suffer deeply. Endless years grant mastery in arts, yet loneliness shadows every triumph. Immortality allows characters to accumulate knowledge impossible for mortals. Imagine remembering every invention, every war, every fleeting human joy. In some stories, immortals mentor mortals, shaping destiny silently. They observe love blossom and fade over centuries without personal involvement. Their patience becomes infinite, yet their longing for connection remains. Vampires often illustrate another side, power intertwined with isolation. Their strength grows, but so does detachment from the living world. Death becomes a concept, not a release, but a distant memory. Immortals often outlive everyone they cherish, creating profound sorrow. Some turn to selfishness, hoarding knowledge, wealth, or forbidden magic. Others dedicate themselves to preserving history, culture, or forgotten lore. The contrast between choice and consequence becomes central to their narrative. Immortality forces characters to reflect constantly on actions' long-term impact. A single mistake may ripple for centuries, haunting the immortal endlessly. In some tales, eternal life breeds wisdom beyond mortal imagination. Yet wisdom alone cannot heal loneliness or replace lost companionship. Immortal heroes often struggle to remain morally grounded over centuries. They witness human cruelty and kindness repeatedly, learning difficult lessons. Mortality gives humans urgency, but immortals endure the weight of eternity. In Tolkien's works, elves embody elegance, skill, and infinite sorrow simultaneously. Each life they touch gains subtle influence across generations of mortals. Their victories seem eternal, but their pain echoes without respite. Vampires in Gothic fiction highlight temptation, immortality, and ethical decay. Endless nights grant freedom, but also endless reflection on lost humanity. Characters who reject mortality often grapple with identity and purpose. Immortals frequently question whether existence alone is truly meaningful. Their memories become treasures and burdens simultaneously, shaping every decision. Stories explore how relationships evolve when time stops for one party. Lovers age, friends pass, civilizations vanish, yet immortals endure unchanged. Some stories depict immortals sacrificing personal happiness to protect others. Others show rebellion against eternal life, seeking mortality as a release. Fantasy fiction uses immortality to magnify human emotion in extreme detail. Readers feel empathy for characters burdened with endless memory and longing. Immortal protagonists often confront existential crises more intense than mortals. Time itself becomes an antagonist, testing resilience and moral fortitude. In these tales, immortals often become historians of human triumphs and failures. They carry wisdom mortals cannot imagine, yet remain haunted by loss. Characters like Raceland from Dragonlance balance ambition with inevitable moral cost. Every decision resonates differently, knowing consequences span centuries. Immortality offers freedom from human limitations, yet imposes unparalleled responsibility. Some stories show immortals shaping world events subtly, unseen by others. Their perspective stretches beyond comprehension, revealing patterns mortals overlook. Time magnifies both joy and tragedy, making each moment intensely significant. Immortal beings often teach us the value of fleeting human experiences. Fantasy fiction provides a safe space to explore endless life consequences. Stories allow reflection on how we might handle infinite time and choice. Consider characters who form deep bonds despite inevitable loss around them. They cherish relationships, knowing that immortality amplifies grief and devotion. In some tales, immortals grow detached, struggling to relate to mortals. Their wisdom becomes alien, and their emotional depth overwhelming. Immortality reveals human fragility by contrast, emphasizing the beauty of mortality. Every encounter becomes profound, every goodbye eternal, shaping endless memories. These stories ask what we would risk or sacrifice for eternal life. Could endless existence corrupt our morals or refine our souls entirely? Readers see themselves reflected in immortal struggles with love, ambition, and ethics. Time amplifies consequences, revealing choices' full impact in extraordinary ways. Fantasy writers craft immortal lives to explore human desires and fears. What if immortality isn't about life, but about confronting our deepest fears? Many fantasy tales reveal that endless life exposes internal struggles more intensely. Immortality magnifies desires, regrets, and the consequences of every decision made. Characters often discover that endless time doesn't solve existential questions. Instead, it forces them to wrestle with identity, purpose, and morality endlessly. In some stories, immortals realize that death provides clarity they can never regain. Their endless existence becomes a lens through which the human condition is revealed. They watch cycles repeat: love, betrayal, power, loss, and redemption endlessly. Time itself becomes a teacher, yet one without mercy or compromise. Immortality often strips away innocence, leaving characters profoundly self-aware and isolated. The twist: eternal life may not grant freedom, only amplified responsibility. Characters learn that immortality exposes every flaw, decision, and unresolved desire. What seemed like a gift becomes a constant, inescapable reflection of self. They may witness history, yet remain powerless to fully change their own path. Fantasy fiction frequently presents immortals as mirrors of human complexity. They magnify emotions, showing the consequences of unchecked ambition or selfishness. Even wisdom gained over centuries cannot shield them from existential weight. Immortals begin to question if memory is a blessing or a relentless burden. Each relationship lost becomes permanent, haunting them across time. Love becomes fragile, joy fleeting, and happiness increasingly elusive. Immortality transforms simple choices into profound ethical dilemmas. Characters ponder, is existence without end meaningful if suffering never ceases? Some seek purpose in creation, art, or knowledge, yet remain haunted by mortality. Others attempt to guide mortals, shaping history with foresight and patience. Still, the endless present reminds them of what cannot be changed. Writers use immortality to explore the paradox of infinite possibility versus finite action. The deeper insight, eternal life, is as much a psychological trial as physical state. Characters often confront the limits of empathy across centuries. They learn that connecting with transient beings is both beautiful and painful. Immortals face boredom unlike anything mortals can imagine, testing resolve. Time amplifies even the smallest decisions into monumental, enduring consequences. Some embrace detachment, accepting observation without involvement in mortal affairs. Others remain desperately entwined, clinging to fleeting moments of connection. Fantasy fiction thrives on this tension between engagement and detachment. Readers witness how endless experience shapes perspective in unimaginable ways. Immortality becomes a tool to explore ethics, grief, love, and ambition. Characters often question whether they are truly living or merely existing. The twist deepens. Eternal life can illuminate the value of mortality itself. Immortals reflect on impermanence, realizing finite life brings urgency and meaning. They may envy mortals for brevity, passion, and emotional immediacy. Immortality also exposes obsession, demonstrating how desire can become destructive. Fantasy stories reveal the seductive danger of endless opportunity without consequence. Immortals sometimes become tyrants, consumed by their unending power or knowledge. Conversely, they may evolve into sages, shaped by centuries of reflection. The narrative twist. Immortality magnifies both the best and worst human tendencies. Characters are not merely alive. They are forced to confront the essence of being. Every triumph feels larger, every loss heavier, every choice more consequential. They teach that eternity reveals the extremes of human nature vividly. Immortality questions identity. Who are we when time no longer defines us? Without mortality, values, priorities, and purpose must be reimagined constantly. Fantasy fiction uses this to mirror human fears of insignificance and impermanence. Immortals endure cycles of love, betrayal, joy, and despair repeatedly. They illuminate the fragility of human connection against the backdrop of endless time. Time tests resilience, forcing reflection on the meaning of relationships and duty. The twist is subtle. Immortality is less about life, more about perspective. Characters reveal that endless years do not grant contentment automatically. Instead, they reveal the depth of human emotion and moral complexity. Immortals demonstrate that meaning must be actively created, not inherited. They remind us that life's brevity can inspire courage and clarity. Endless existence magnifies the stakes of every decision, trivial or monumental. In fiction, immortals embody both possibility and cautionary warnings simultaneously. Their stories inspire reflection. How would we act if time had no limit? They challenge readers to examine ambition, ethics, and relationships deeply.